morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, I need to show you a new Boltund card, which looks really, really fun. I showed you Yamper in the previous video, and Yamper actually is a phenomenal card. I give it 5 Wassies, like legitimate 5 Wassie card, outside of any use it might have with Boltund, which I find kind of interesting and awesome and fun. But this Boltund is no slouch, ladies and gentlemen. This Boltund could be a very, very nice card indeed. It is exactly my kind of card. Let me explain. So starting off with the basics here, though I should mention at the outset our translations will come from the lovely Antoine Boulet, one of our very favourites. We've got 130 HP, which is nice. There's a lot of Pokemon. 120 is one of those numbers that Pokemon tend to hit. So having 130 and being out of range is lovely. We've then got a retreat cost of 1, which means you get free retreat with U-turn board, which I'm always, frankly, a little bit of a fan of. Having said that, we have seen a Boltund with free retreat, and Boltund is kind of fast in the video game, so feel free to feel a little bit aggrieved here. We've got a weakness to fighting, which means it shares a weakness with stuff like Pikachu and Zekrom, stuff like Eternatus VMAX and Crobat and all of that, which is not ideal. And it's a lightning type, so you can accelerate energy with Tapu Koko, though you're not going to need to. More on that in a moment. And it means you're hitting weakness on a few things that aren't terribly relevant. But I don't know, maybe Lapras. But you see, ladies and gentlemen, it is all about the attacks here, and the attacks are good. Now, the first attack for 1 lightning energy does 30 damage and stops the defending Pokemon retreating during your opponent's next turn. It traps them in the active. And we've seen attacks like this over and over again. I mean, this is called Corner, and we've seen attacks like this called Corner over and over again. And they're the kind of attacks that you'll not use terribly often, but there will come a day, come a time, come a particular game state where all of a sudden this kind of attack becomes broken. Like genuinely full-on broken. There was, a great example. It was an old card, Hawlucha. I say old, it wasn't even that old. It just feels like it was a long time ago at this stage. But Hawlucha that came around in Furious Fist had free retreat. But it had an attack that could only hit EX Pokemon. So people wouldn't play a lot of switching cards because they wouldn't need to. And it couldn't attack unless you were against an EX. So one thing that I did while playing a Garchomp deck in a mirror match, because you would obviously play this in a mirror match, because great single energy fighting Pokemon, I made sure my opponent wasn't playing any switching cards game 1. I won game 1, and then game 2, I just put Gabite active. And now Gabite was brilliant, because Gabite did 20 damage and stopped them retreating, and Hawlucha had resistance to fighting. So I did 0 damage, stopped my opponent retreating. They couldn't attack, but had no switching cards. And I told my opponent straight, I'm like, I am just going to do this until the game ends. Because I won game 1, so I could do it. And I offered them to carry on playing the game, and they decided that actually it wasn't worth playing out the game because there was literally no way to win. My good friend Tommy Roberts, who actually has started this new awesome website, Cardex, I'm going to link it in the description, you should check it out, it's awesome. He did a very similar thing against Hawlucha with a Snorlax, the plasma one that had an ability that stopped your opponent retreating, and won a game similarly just going... He had to run them out of switching cards first, but as soon as they were out of switching cards, he just put Snorlax active and was like... checkmate. So it's a useful kind of attack. There isn't, I don't think, anything that's actually resistant to lightning at the moment, which is a little bit sad. But you can either trap your opponent for several turns and deck them out if they're close to decking out, or if they're not playing any switching cards. I mean, Crobat is a nice example here. Crobat has got an attack, 70 damage plus poison, but it's for a darkness and a colourless energy. So if your opponent isn't playing any darkness energy, they can actually attack you. So if they don't have any switching cards, you can get like a 6-hit KO on a Crobat. And that's going to take a while. But if your opponent doesn't have any switching cards, it's a 6-hit KO for 2 prizes. Sounds alright to me. But it is the second attack here, which is far better for Boltund. 2 lightning energy, 1 colourless energy, 130 damage. Honestly, I know you get to 130 rather than 120, which I've already told you in this video is a key number, but it is, shall we say, largely uninspiring. It's not a reason why Boltund would get its own video. But if this Pokemon has any damage counters on it, it can use this attack for 1 lightning energy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very different indeed. Now, honestly, right off the bat here, we need to mourn the loss of Rainbow Energy. We don't have Rainbow Energy right now. Rainbow Energy rotated. Now, to be fair, Rainbow Energy has been around since the Wizards of the Coast days. It keeps coming around. Hopefully, one day Rainbow Energy will come back. Hopefully one day soon Rainbow Energy will come back. Because this seems like a card which is absolutely tailor-made for Rainbow Energy. It's too good. Rainbow Energy counts as any kind of energy. And it puts a damage counter on when you attach it. So this way you can do the minimum amount of damage while attaching an energy which would allow Boltund to attack. Now we had Rainbow Energy in Team Rocket. There have been, according to the lovely folks over at PokemonCards.com, PKMNCards.com, great website for research, according to them there have been 19 different prints, so that does include secret rares, etc. But my point is, it's a card that's kept coming around since it was first printed in Team Rocket. It's probably going to come around again. And if we get Rainbow Energy again, this is a phenomenal partner. We haven't had Rainbow Energy since Celestial Storm, which has rotated, but you've got to think that it's coming back at some point, and when it does, this will be awesome. But we don't have Rainbow Energy right now, so we need to ask the question of how do we get the damage onto Yampy Boy, as I called him in Pokemon Sword when I played through. And the answer is, well, there's basically 2 ways we can get energy on here easily. The first one is Jinx. Now, Jinx isn't perfect, but Jinx lets you move 1 damage counter from one of your Pokemon to another. So as long as you've got 1 damage somewhere on the field, Jinx will allow you to move it to Boltund, and then you get the 130 for a single energy, which is awesome. Otherwise, Spikemuth. Spikemuth is a stadium card whereby if you move a Pokemon from the active to the bench, whether switching with an item card or supporter or whatever, or just retreating, you place 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. So you can get the damage on here and you're good to go, which would be nice. And to be fair, there are cards out there like Stunfisk springs to mind that actually does more damage for each Pokemon on your bench with damage on. So that's kind of cool. And there's clearly a combo here with Donphan from Vivid Voltage. Donphan does 120 for a single energy and places 2 damage counters on each of your bench Pokemon. And then you've obviously got your Phanpy, which does 30 damage for each damage counter on it. So clearly that works nicely with Donphan. And obviously Donphan can then use Memory Capsule to copy it, which is cool. And then essentially you've got a deck building up there. And I love this Donphan. And if you're playing that Donphan, this works very, very nicely with it. Though again, Rainbow Energy would allow you to pay either the Fighting for Donphan or the Lightning for Boltund. Man, we need Rainbow Energy back. Plus, it would put more damage on, which would end up making Phanpy/Donphan's attack so much better. So, okay, it's a little bit awkward, but that could work. And they're essentially your options, right? You've got Jinx, you've got Spikemuth, or you've got stuff like Donphan, which will damage the bench. Donphan, I think, being the best among them. But the fact of the matter is, we have ways to put damage on. And that is absolutely crucial here. Because then you're talking 130 damage for a single energy. And we've seen plenty of stage 1s with 120 HP. I mean, we've seen a Boltund with 120 HP. So if you put 1 damage counter on, you've essentially got 120 HP, and then you're doing 130 for a single energy. That's got to be worth a play. And of course, worth bearing in mind, this will KO the majority of single prize Pokemon. And if you're hitting for weakness, it will get Pokemon Vs, not VMAXs. So Lapras V will go down. Lapras VMAX will survive, unfortunately, but you're still doing decent damage. And okay, the weakness isn't terribly relevant at the moment, but we see water Pokemon coming through weak to lightning, and we see flying Pokemon that generally come through weak to lightning. Actually, tell a lie, Talonflame. Talonflame could be super relevant here, because Talonflame, being flying type, is weak to lightning and would be KO'd by this. And with Talonflame having free retreat, etc., I can imagine Talonflame seeing a bunch of play in the future. I'm honestly surprised it isn't seeing more now. So maybe this can be a really good counter to something like Talonflame. My point is, this is a really, really good card. Like a really good card. Back in the Heart Gold Soul Silver era, like a lot of people, played Stage 1s. And you'd have a whole bunch of Stage 1 cards like Chinchino that would attack for a single energy attachment. I'm not saying this is heralding the return of that deck. But I absolutely am saying that this is the kind of thing that could work either in a deck like that or as something else, etc. It is 130 damage hitting a lightning weakness for a single energy, which makes it easily teched into decks. It means you can play it with stuff like Aurora Energy. It means that it's a good single energy attacker in, like Boltund V decks, where you need sometimes a good single energy attacker or an evolved attacker to get around something like Obstagoon, for instance. This will work nicely, although it is worth pointing out you don't actually one-hit KO Obstagoon, you will be 30 damage short, Boo Hiss, etc. And you'll also be 10 damage short of Decidueye, that blocks GXs and Vs, but just play a little bit of damage manipulation, I'm sure you'll be fine. My point here is, this is a really, really nice single energy, single prize Stage 1 attacker. And you can play it in Lightning decks, or you can play it as some kind of Stage 1 multi-type deck, or you could just tech it into any deck that needs a way to deal with lightning weak Pokemon, as long as you're willing to play the odd lightning energy. I mean, just play something like Viridian Forest, you'll search it out easily enough, or Aurora Energy, etc. And I like it very much indeed. Plus, I've already told you how great that Yamper is. When you play it from your hand to your bench, you get to put a Pokeball and a Great Ball from your discard pile into your hand. It really is a very nice card indeed. So you get all the advantage of that lovely Yamper as well. I'm going to go ahead and give this Boltund between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. I don't think it's this new amazing card around which you are definitely going to build a deck, but I do think it absolutely will work as a 1-1 or 2-2 line in a whole bunch of different decks, and that alone makes me want to take it rather seriously. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.